Hey everyone, welcome back to my garden, and I wanted to share an update today with my hydroponic ground cherry plant. Let's zoom back and see just how big this plant has grown since just only last week. And I'll post a link down below for last week's episode, and you can really see just how large this plant got. And if I take you around, you see all of these side branches that are growing and pretty much outgrowing the light system here. Right behind the lights, you could see that the branches are still going up and they just keep on growing. But it doesn't seem to be affecting the growth of the ground cherries, even though it's not underneath the lights. It is getting some partial lighting from up above, but as you see, the difference in illumination is very low compared to underneath the actual lights here, compared to this one here. So you could see that the ground cherries are even beginning to grow into the second level here up above. And on the left side here, they've actually even came up through, so I allowed it to keep on growing. And it seems to be overall growing in pretty well. Over here I actually had to clip it, a little plastic clip. This works really well. You could simply come in and unhook it and clip it wherever you want, and it's a nice opening, allowing the plant to keep growing and moving through. And as you see, the ground cherries, the lanterns are forming very nicely, and there's even more flowers that just keep on forming. Everywhere you look, you see pretty much new flowers forming in, and I'm just going to let this plant do its thing and keep on growing. And if I take you down a little lower, you see beautiful lanterns everywhere. And a quick note, if you're growing this plant indoors, you may have a ton of these little blossoms that fall off. After the plant pollinates itself, these little flowers fall off, and what's left is pretty much just this lantern right here. Sometimes the flowers stay intact at the very tip of the plant here, similar to this one right here, but any type of like touching or brushing, a lot of times the flowers will fall off and fall down. So that's what happens. So if you're growing this indoors, you may have a little bit of cleanup to do, or I just leave it right there and take care of it later on. And if you're growing this outdoors, that's actually perfect because it falls back down and provides some nutrients back into the soil. And you see the plant is outgrowing the light system everywhere you look. I've actually had to pull this plant out because some of it was touching the lights and burning up a tiny bit. So you want to be careful and keep watch. So every day I come in and make sure, look underneath the lights, see what's going on, since this plant is so bushy. And I thought the space that I gave this plant was going to be enough. It's pretty much like a 2 foot by 16 inch, something like that, like 24 inch by 16 inch, and about 3 feet high. I thought that would be enough. Obviously this plant just keeps on growing no matter where you look. There's all of these new side branches forming, and it's just gonna keep on growing, and it's producing more and more of these lanterns, and it's taken a long time for them to ripen up and fall off. But as I zoom around, you begin to see just really how many of these beautiful ground cherries there are. There's so many of them. I even showed a couple in the last episode of a few that I gathered. Let me show you a couple more. Look at that. So I just keep gathering these ground cherries and patiently waiting, and waiting for them to ripen up and turn very yellow and super sweet and delicious. So we're gonna keep on waiting for that. They're still ripening up. I could tell because the color's not quite ready yet. If I actually pick one up and show you, for example, these are the fresh ones that I picked I believe yesterday night, sometime in the evening. So you see they still look nice and fresh, and they're very soft. The outside husk is very soft, but as they get older, they begin to dry out, just like this, and the husk begins to feel more like rubbery, or almost like just like a dry, very dry paper. And I actually turned them upside down this way. That's the only part that's exposed. I feel like being that they're all upside down, they'll ripen up a little bit faster. The gases probably release downwards, and just like this. So let's look at that. Let's maybe open one up and see what it looks like. No, not quite ready yet. So you see it's still very green. So I'm just going to cover that back up. When you keep the husk on, it actually ripens up faster. And once the husk is ripped off completely, it may start to spoil a tiny bit. So that's what I have for now. And that's what's growing. So I'm just going to keep on waiting and gathering. And soon enough, I'll have a beautiful, beautiful harvest to work with. And I'll have a ton of seeds to provide everyone with, for anybody who's interested, as well as be able to make a couple of recipes, maybe some like pies or jams, even a type of like salsa or hot sauce might be in the picture. And before we go, let's actually see what the root system looks like. We always take a look at that. And there we have it. Nice, beautiful root system. As you see, it's growing in pretty much in the entire container. You could see roots, and it looks like there's about approximately about a gallon. So in about a week, it looks like it drank up about a gallon. So I'm gonna keep a close monitor of that, and maybe next week is probably gonna be the time when I have to refill it. And we may put that in the video, because the way that I mix my hydroponic nutrients is slightly different now than before. So I just want to show you maybe how the new way that I mix my nutrients, probably coming up soon, because it's super easy and much more effective than what I was doing. So for now, hopefully you liked the episode. As always, if you did, don't forget to hit the thumbs up and subscribe. Thanks for watching.